Hey friends, welcome back to Hobart Reviews. My name is Hobart. So I'm super excited to introduce you to the fifth wheel Thunder 1 FT folding electric bike. This baby is a beast, isn't it? I mean, just look at those 4-inch tires. They're huge. So let's go ahead and start off with the specifications. This has got a 500 watt rear hub motor. It gives you up to 1,000 watt max so you can get up those hills, but 500 watt is the rated power. Now you've also got a 48 volt 10 amp hour battery that's built right here into the frame. When you open this to fold the bike, you'll see where the battery is. You have a little key that they give you that you can unlock, pull the battery out, bring it inside and charge it, bring it back out and put it in the bike, which is really a great feature. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to charge. You got a top speed of 20 miles an hour in the US, 15.5 miles an hour in the EU. You've also got a range of 31 miles with your throttle only, or up to 50 miles with the pedal assist. It weighs about 62 pounds. The frame is made from aluminum alloy, which is going to keep the strength up and that weight down. You've got a Shimano 6-speed shifter, which will show you how all that works. So far, so good. Shimano, a good high-quality brand, which is great. You've got front hydraulic fork suspension, which is adjustable. You can just turn the knob and make it stiffer, or you can make it softer, and you can even lock the suspension if you don't want any at all up front. And in the back, you've got a spring suspension, which is adjustable with a spanner wrench. The suspension is really nice, and I'll show you when we're out on the ride. Your tires are 20 inch by 4 inches wide, which are huge fat tires, which will make it super easy to ride on the roads and the sidewalks, and of course the dirt roads and the trails and things like that, so you can do some off-roading with this baby with no problems with these 4-inch wide tires. Now you have a headlight in the front that is powered by the bike, but you do not have a tail light that is powered by the bike. They give you one that is built into the seat here, but it is battery powered. You're gonna have to turn that on manually. So if you go for a ride at night and you turn your headlight on, don't forget to come back here and manually turn on and off your taillight, or you won't have one on. And as far as the waterproof rating, you've got an IP54, which means that it's gonna handle dust and it's gonna handle light splashes of water. But don't take this out in a torrential downpour, or go riding through deep puddles or lakes or anything like that, because it's not built for that. I just keep it out altogether. Well, that's the specs, that's the features here on the Thunder 1 FT. Let's go ahead out for a ride. I'm gonna show you how all this works. All right, before we go for a ride, let's go ahead and get a quick overview of the cockpit here on the Thunder 1 FT. I wanted to point out that these grips are super grippy. They could be a little thicker to give us some more cushioning, but as far as grip, I mean, it's 105 degrees out here right now. My hands are sweaty, and I've got full grip on these handle grips. So good job on that. Just make them a little bit more cushiony for us. Now, this is your dedicated throttle here to the right. As you can see, I can hold the throttle down and it's not engaging the motor. That's a safety feature that fifth wheel put on the Thunder 1 FT so that you don't accidentally hit the throttle while you're sitting there and your bike takes off from out and under you. You got your Shimano 6-speed shifter right here. You're gonna use this paddle to go from 6 to 1, and then you'll use this little plus button here to go from 1 back up to 6. Now here's your LCD screen over here, your power button and your M or mode button. On the screen, you've got your miles per hour, you've got your speed mode, you've got your battery, and you've got your current trip, the miles that you've ridden on your trip so far. Now, if you long press the power button, you'll turn your bike on and off. If you double click the power button, you're going to turn your headlight on and off. Now, you can use the power button and the M button as up and down buttons as well to go to your different speed modes. Currently, I'm in speed mode 3, so if I click the M button once, it's going to go to 2. Again, I'll be in speed mode 1. If I click the power button once, it'll go to speed mode 2, and again, it'll go to speed mode 3. Now, as far as your mode or your trip, this is showing you your current miles on the trip that you're on. If you double click that, it's going to give you your odometer, or the total miles that you have on the bike, which for me right now is 50 miles. Double click again, and it goes back to your current trip. So that's a quick overview of the cockpit here on the Thunder 1 FT. Let's go ahead and get started on a ride, and I'll show you how it all works. All right, so let me go ahead and explain the speed modes on the Thunder 1 FT. So speed mode 1 is going to give you the least amount of help from the motor. Now that's different from electric scooters, because in electric scooters, the speed mode determines your top speed. While on the electric bike, the speed mode determines how much help you're getting from the motor. So right now, I can still reach the top speed of 20 miles an hour, but in speed mode 1, I'm still able to pedal pretty easily without the bike taking off from under me. Now, if I were to slow down a little bit, squeaky brakes, and go to speed mode 2, the bike is going to give me a lot more help to get me up to speed, or to the top speed. If I go to speed mode 3, you'll see that the bike gives me a lot of help, just as if I was hitting the throttle full speed. So you get going pretty quick and your legs get going pretty quick in speed mode 3 versus speed mode 1. So I like to ride in speed mode 1 so that I can still pedal and the bike isn't trying to overpower me, if you know what I mean. Now, I really wish the fifth wheel would allow us to go at least 5 or 8 more miles an hour, similar to the electric bikes that go 28 miles an hour, because as you can hear, this motor wants to go faster, and that controller just cuts it off at the knees. Now, listen, as I accelerate, you'll see as soon as we hit 20 miles an hour, it just goes kaput. Ready? And kaput, just like that. So I really wish the fifth wheel would let us get a little bit more speed out of this, because you can tell that the bike wants to go faster. It's sturdy enough to go faster, it's stable, it's balanced, so I'm not sure why they limited it to 20 miles an hour. I'm sure there's some kind of law somewhere, but there's plenty of bikes here in the US that do 28 miles an hour just fine as a class 2, class 3 bike. Also, the suspension is really nice on here. Of course, you got the adjustable hydraulic forks up front, and then you have an adjustable spring suspension in the rear that you can adjust with a spanner wrench. Now, I left it the way that it came in the box, and you know, if I bounce up and down on it, it's got some really nice squishy suspension, so I don't have any issues, you know, going over cracks in the sidewalk and bumps, V-curbs like the one up here. It just doesn't rattle me like it does on some of the other scooters that I have. Look, 13 over this, boom. Boom, nothing, no problem whatsoever. So the suspension's real nice here on the Thunder 1 FT. The gears change pretty nice and easily on here. Of course, I can use the lever and go all the way down to 1 and pedal super fast, and then that plus button, 1 gear at a time. No problems with it switching gears, no adjustments that I needed to make on it. It came from the factory working just fine. So the Shimano gear shifters are working great. Now, the tires on the Thunder 1 FT seem to be pretty nice. They're 20-inch by 4-inch wide, which is a super wide tire. It's definitely a fat tire bike, and that is going to help you be able to easily go over bumps and cracks in the road. You can go off-roading on trails, and it's still going to be a comfortable ride because you got a nice wide tire, but also a nice big thick tire as far as cushioning with lots of air in there. One thing that I did notice, though, is that when there's no air in these tires, they are super, super thin. If you've ever seen top fuel dragster tires and how they can easily wrinkle themselves, it's kind of the same thing with these tires. I've never seen tires like this before, so I'm not sure if that's normal. Normally, bike tires have some sort of rigidity to them. The walls have rigidity to them. But these, they just kind of crinkle up into nothing. So I'm not sure if that's going to affect getting more flats or not. But that's one thing I did notice with these tires is while nice and big and cushy, when there's no air in them, they are really, really thin. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, as far as the brakes are concerned, they work pretty good, but I must warn you, only after you ride them for 10 or 15 miles. When I first got the bike and I first got on it and I hit the brakes, I was horrified because they didn't stop me at all. I mean, it took me a long time to stop from 10 miles an hour, and I was like, uh-oh. But there must be some kind of coating or something on these brake pads, because after I rode them for about 10 or 15 miles, the brakes work just fine. Now, they're really loud, they're grindy, they're squeaky, which hopefully fifth wheel can do something about in the future, but the stopping power is there. When I first rode it, it was horrible, but I'll show you right now. I can skid to a stop and they work just fine. Just be careful in those first 10 to 15 miles because the stopping power will be drastically reduced until you get that coating or whatever's on the brake pads off of them so that you can get that stopping power. But overall, the brakes work great now. right, let's go ahead and take a look at the pros and the cons, and we'll start off with the cons because I want to end things on a positive note. So con number one is definitely going to be putting it together. Now, I'll admit I haven't put together that many bikes in the last few years, but it took me 3 hours to put this bike together. I tried to use the instructions, which weren't much help, and then I went onto the YouTube video that they have up there, and while it does help a little bit, I feel like it could be more detailed and spend a little bit more time on each individual thing so that I can get the gist of it before you go and move on. The fenders were a pain in the butt to put together, and then there's this little cap that they put on here that at first I didn't know I had to remove. So I was trying to fit this hole on the handlebars onto a piece that was way bigger than it, going, it's not possible. Now, it wasn't until I watched the video that I saw, oh, I have to remove that cap and slide the handlebar on. Gotcha. So that was about a half hour alone just trying to figure that out. So the assembly is not easy. Take yourself a chill pill before you get started so that you don't get aggravated like I did. Con number two is definitely going to be the top speed. This bike wants to go faster than 20 miles an hour. You can tell I showed you on the ride, but they limit it for some reason, I don't know why, to 20 miles an hour. And as far as I know, there is no code that I can put in to unlock any more speed. So the fact that this only goes 20 miles an hour is a huge con because there are other bikes out there like the electric bikes and other class 3 bikes that go 28 miles an hour. So I wish that they would increase that, but con number two is definitely going to be the top speed. Con number three, I wish they would have put a built-in taillight in here. I mean, being visible at night is a huge plus when you're riding an electric bike, a regular bike, any kind of vehicle, you need to be able to be seen. Now, while the battery-powered one is great, it's not powered by the bike, so I'm going to have to keep changing or charging the batteries if I want my taillight to work. Plus, I have to remember to manually turn on and off the taillight every time I go ride. So hopefully they'll put in some kind of built-in taillight to the next Thunder 1 FT. The next con is going to be the fenders. Now, the front fender isn't too bad, but I had an issue with the rear fender. This is just, it's kind of flimsy and it doesn't really work that well. I actually had to lock this down here and then loosen these screws up here because the fender was crooked and lopsided when I installed it. And I couldn't figure out how to get it to stop rubbing on the tire. So after loosening those and kind of slapping it and hitting it and moving it around, I got it to a point where it's not rubbing on the tire, but it's still kind of crooked. So maybe do a little bit better of a job on the fenders next time. Overall, they're not too bad, but it does take a little bit of finagling, especially on the rear fender, in order to get them straight. And the next con is definitely going to be the brakes. Now, in the beginning, as I said, the first 10 or 15 miles, be careful because there is some kind of coating or something that needs to wear off on the brakes before it gives you any kind of good stopping power. For the first 10 or 15 miles, I'd slam on the brakes and I just keep on going. But I gotta say, after I wore that off, now the brakes work great. I can skid to a stop if I need to. There's no problems at all. I do say, though, they are squeaky and they are grindy, so they're not the best brakes, but I'm super happy that they eventually started to work. So just be careful in your first few miles that you wear off that coating and your brakes will get better, I promise. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the pros. Pro number one is the build quality is really, really nice. This is a really nice, well-built electric bike. I mean, nothing crinks or clinks or clickety-clinks or feels cheap whatsoever on here, besides these fenders. These fenders are just not very good. But the build of the bike itself, the frame, the welds are real nice. It's just a really nice, well-built bike. So the build quality is definitely pro number one here on the Thunder 1 FT. Pro number two is the suspension. The suspension is really nice, actually. It's nice and squishy if you want that nice, smooth, soft ride. You can also adjust and tighten or even lock the front suspension and adjust and tighten your rear suspension here if you want a stiffer ride. But the suspension is really nice so far, and that's definitely a pro here on the Thunder 1 FT. The next pro is definitely going to be the tires. They're big old fat tires. They're nice and cushiony. They make the ride nice and comfortable, and it makes it really easy to go off-road on dirt trails and dirt roads and things like that. And it also makes it a nice smooth ride when you're riding on asphalt. Plus, it gives you that nice growl along with the motor to kind of make it sound like a motorcycle when you're riding. So I kind of like that for some reason. But the tires are really nice. I wasn't quite sure about these big, fat, wide 4-inch tires, but I gotta say, I like them a lot. The next pro is the Shimano shifters work really well. Shimano is a well-known brand, high-quality brand that's been around forever, and the 6-speed shifter is definitely really nice. I haven't had any problems, any derailments. I haven't had to adjust anything from the factory. So it comes from the factory, at least this one did, came ready to go out of the box. So the Shimano shifter is working really well. I appreciate them giving us at least a name brand, good quality shifter and not some, generic brand so that we have issues while trying to shift gears. So good job on the Shimano shifter. The next pro is I love the fact that you're able to take this battery out to charge it without having to take the entire bike with you. It's super easy. All you have to do is unfold this right here, and inside there, your battery is right there. Take the battery out, put the battery in, then you're gonna put it back like this, fold it, and you're ready to go. I mean, the removable battery is awesome, and it's one of my favorite features here on the Thunder 1 FT. And finally, one of the biggest features is the fact that you can fold this bike up. I just showed you how you can fold it in half here. Your handlebars, they fold down as well. Super simple. All you have to do is pick this up like so, and then just bam. Now your handlebars are folded down. This folds, and you can put it inside the trunk of your car. No time. When you get somewhere, you fold it together, lock this down, put this up like so, boom, and now you're ready to go. It's super simple. So the folding aspect of the Thunder 1 FT, super high quality, super easy to use, and you're able to fit this bike into pretty much any vehicle. Well, that's all the time that I've got for you today, my friends. My name is Hobart for Hobart's Reviews. Hopefully I've given you a good insight on the Thunder 1 FT electric bike by Fifth Wheel. It really is a nice bike. It's got a few things to improve, but what doesn't, right? So if you're looking for something for a commuter or a trail rider or an off-roader, just because of the suspension alone, this is a great choice. You're gonna get a nice smooth ride. Those 4-inch fat wide tires are really nice as well. The quality is nice. It's got a removable battery. It folds in half so you can put it in any trunk or SUV or the back of the truck. I mean, it's really got it all. So if you wanna go ahead and buy one of these, I'm gonna put a link down in the description for you. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll be happy to answer them. And if I've earned it today, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and the bell so next time I put out a video, you will be notified. Well, that's all I got for you today, my friends. My name is Hobart for Hobart's Reviews. Have a great rest of your day and happy riding.